Welcome to Hyde Park, the largest royal park in the centre of London. And we'll be looking today not just around Hyde Park and the Serpentine and everything that you can do here as well, but we'll also go back in history to see how the park was started. We start off at Speaker's Corner.
Now, a Speaker's Corner is an open-air public speaking area for debate and discussion where it's allowed. Now, there's quite a lot of them around, but of course the most famous one, without doubt, is here at Hyde Park in London. Now, just to give you an idea of where we are in Hyde Park, we're right by Marble Arch, so we're at the top end. Now, there's a number of other areas designated as a Speaker's Corner in other London parks, such as Lincoln Inn Fields, Finsbury Park, Clapham Common, Kennington Park, and also Victoria Park, which is over near Hackney. Now, there are other ones, as I said, in other countries and elsewhere across the UK. Now, this is the area which is known as Speaker's Corner here at Hyde Park. Actually, Speaker's Corner as an area itself is officially from here right down to the bottom of Hyde Park at the Victoria Gate and across almost to the Serpentine. So actually you can have a discussion wherever you like, really, and legally anywhere within Hyde Park. It's quite a vast area. Now let me tell you a little bit more about Speaker's Corner. Now, the area that they've set aside here at Speaker's Corner is this piece here, this sort of very, very small corner, and you can see because it's well laid out, and they've also got signs up giving a brief history of Speaker's Corner, which is what I'm going to do for you now. Now, contrary to popular belief, speakers can come here and talk about any subject as long as the police consider their speeches lawful. So this is not a right that's only restricted to Speaker's Corner, funnily enough. So contrary to popular belief, there's no immunity from the law, and there also are subjects which are prescribed, but in practice the police only intervene when they receive a complaint. Now, on some occasions in the past, they have actually intervened on the basis of profanity. So they've got involved in that time. So, although Speaker's Corner is considered to be this little piece here right by Marble Arch, as I said, it's actually a whacking great piece of the park, which goes on right the way down to Hyde Park Corner and across to the Serpentine. Now, the reason Hyde Park Corner and Speaker's Corner is so well known is because big debates and discussions have happened here. Riots have also broken out in protest. Now, one of the big public riots was back in 1855 in protest over the Sunday Trading Bill. Now, that's interesting. The only day that people had off, and the riots were described by Karl Marx as the beginning of the English Revolution. Now, the good thing about Speaker's Corner is it's held up as a demonstration of free speech, but anyone can turn up unannounced, talk on almost any subject that they fancy, but always risk being heckled by regulars. And the corner was quite often frequented by these famous people: Karl Marx, Vladimir Lenin, George Orwell, C.L.R. James, Rodney Rodney, Ben Tillett, Marcus Gravy, and William Morris. So Speaker's Corner is one of those places that you can come to. And as you can see, today there is no one here, apart from us, filming.
Now, a question probably on your mind is, how did it get the name Speaker's Corner? Now, what's interesting is, see where the buses are there? If you just go a bit further back, you've got the site of what used to be known as the Tyburn Tree, and that is a place where people were hung many, many years ago. And they were brought here to this part of Hyde Park awaiting to be hung, and this was the part at which they could actually speak and they could say their bit. So alternatively, what people could do is they could carry on pleading their innocence, and if they did, the crowds would then heckle them, or alternatively they could actually say their bit and they could apologise and they could have their speech about what they'd done and why they'd done it. Hence it was called Speaker's Corner, or at least that's one belief of why it is called Speaker's Corner.
Now, what we're going to do is walk through Hyde Park. Now, Hyde Park is fantastic, and I'll give you some history on Hyde Park. It used to be the King's hunting ground before it was opened and handed back for public use. And there's a car park underneath it, a very minimal sign. But Hyde Park is used in winter for Winter Wonderland. So the Winter Wonderland video that we've got on our channel, we've got two of them actually. They were actually that was actually filmed from here. That's right bang in the centre. And also during the summer they have a lot of concerts that happen here. So they happen in the middle. Also, one of the great things is you can cycle in Hyde Park, but only around the outskirts. So you cycle free here. So Hyde Park is the largest of the royal parks. And then you have the Serpentine Lake, which goes right down the middle of it, and it separates it from Kensington Gardens, which you could almost call a continuation of Hyde Park. So it's massive, it really is. Unless they've done a good job with the grass. There you go. You can see, looking beautifully green. Oh, birds are certainly loving it. By the way, if you're watching this, loving it, you know what to do. Hit that thumbs up for us, will you? This will get this out spread to more people so they can love London as well. And also, if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, what are you doing? Hit the button. We've got so many great videos to come between. Well, so many great videos to come, full stop. Now, let me just give you a show round. So, over here on the other side of Hyde Park, you've got Park Lane, which goes down to Hyde Park Corner. The building you can see sticking above the trees. Let's just focus it in on that. Yeah. So that building you can see just perching up there is the Hilton on Park Lane. Okay, that's better. That's a Hilton on Park Lane. And then as you go down, you're then looking over to the other side. That's Lambeth. Those tall skyscrapers over there. And then once you actually came into the park, you could see the 4 funnels of Battersea Power Station, which has not long been opened. Now, also another great thing about Hyde Park is not only is it a lovely place to go walking through, but also on the other side of it, you've got Knightsbridge. So if you want to make a detour from Oxford Street down to... here we go. If you want to make a detour from Oxford Street to, say, Harrods or anything like that, then you can cut through Hyde Park. Now, this is the site of the Reform Tree. And let me tell you a little bit about that. So, during the Reform League riots in 1866, the remaining stump became a notice board for the political demonstrations and gatherings on this point for the Reform League meetings. And a new oak tree was planted by the then Prime Minister James Callaghan on the 7th of November 1977 on the spot where Reformers Tree was thought to have stood. So that's where the original Reform Tree was. So we're going to have a look at that in a second. But also you've got around that, you've got it pointing in the different directions. So there you go, Knightsbridge, which is 400. Knightsbridge is that way. Toilets, refreshments. Then you've got Hyde Park Corner Bandstand, Serpentine. Let's just catch the. There we go. We'll catch the tree in it. There. So Speaker's Corner, where we've come from. Hyde Park Corner. You've got Paddington off in that direction there, Lancaster Gate and Kensington Gardens, or the top part of the Kensington Gardens. Right, so let's head a bit further down this way because it's going to take us to the Serpentine. Oh, we have a squirrel. There we go. Wildlife in London. Oh, he's posing. Wildlife in London posing. Fantastic. Now, as we come out at the top here, we're on the high part of Hyde Park. Oh, it looks like it's a wildlife place. But as we then come out of the top, you've got the Serpentine Lake with all of the boats, which is fantastic.
So this is the Serpentine Lake, and we're looking at it here from the main road that goes through Hyde Park, and it almost splits Hyde Park with Kensington Gardens, which we showed you on the map earlier. But here you get an amazing view down the Serpentine, and that building at the far end there, yep, that's the Hilton again over at Park Lane. It really does stand out wherever you are. Now, the Serpentine is fantastic because not only have you got the boats, you can also just see there's a white sort of rectangle out there in the middle of the picture. That is the Lido. So actually you can go and you can pay and you can go and swim in the Serpentine in that Lido area. So that's sort of protected from the boats. Not protected from the birds, but it's protected from the boats. But if you fancy going to have a swim, that's a fantastic place to do it. Now, the Serpentine, which is a 40 acres, 16 hectares, was created in 1730 at the behest of Queen Caroline. Now, interestingly, the Serpentine is only this bit of water. So the bridge we've just walked on, it's the water on the eastern side, and the western boundary is marked by the road, whereas the other half is known as Long Water. And until today, I didn't know that either. Anyway, the Serpentine takes its name from its snake-like curving shape, although it's only actually got one bend. Now, whether you call it a river or a lake, if you go to the other end, the non-Hyde Park bit, you've got the Italian water gardens at the other end, which is an absolute feature you must go and see because it's brilliant. Right, then put a link to that in the top right hand corner. The building you can see over the other side is a fantastic cafe, and also is the area where you walk into the Lido, which is just over the other side there, just past those boats. And once again, I can't recommend highly enough getting on the Serpentine in one of these boats. An hour goes very slowly, especially when you're actually out there in the middle and you're shattered from all the pedalling. Just saying, knowing from habit. Now, one of the things Hyde Park was actually used for was back in 1851 and the great exhibition that happened then, and the Serpentine was a focal point for it. But more recently, it was used as a venue for the men's and women's triathlon and marathon swimming events in the London 2012 Olympics. Can you imagine getting... Yeah, okay. Just makes me feel slightly ill just thinking about getting into that water. Anyway, since 1864, the Serpentine Swimming Club has organised a 100-yard race every Christmas morning. How cold is that? Even the birds probably wouldn't be there for that, so you're probably quite safe. Just in case you're wondering, here's a stat for you. You're probably thinking, Steve, how deep is the lake? I can tell you. The maximum depth is 17 feet, which in new money is 5.2 metres. It's often reported to be deeper, but they actually found bathymetric surveys by the Royal Park in 2010, which revealed the design of the lake at that time. Now, the fantastic thing about Hyde Park and the Serpentine in particular, it doesn't matter what time of year you come walking around it, it's always fantastic to do. So if you're doing a trip to London and you haven't been to Hyde Park before, you certainly need to get here. Oh, and by the way, the building's over the end there, it's a cafe. So if you're doing the walk, you can reward yourself with a nice hot drink after in the winter. So here, still near the Serpentine, you have this rock, and this rock is the Norwegian War Memorial. Now, if you're a regular watcher of the channel, you'll know when we go around, we find war memorials all over the place, and I must admit, I wasn't expecting to find this one hidden here under the trees, right in the middle of Hyde Park. But here it is. So basically, it's this stone. So from our tour so far with some of the tower blocks overlooking, it's not hard to know that you're in the centre of London. Yet, when you walk past the Norwegian War Memorial and you get a bit away from the Serpentine and right bang into the centre of Hyde Park, all of a sudden you find a wilderness, and just look how empty it is here in summer right in the middle. There aren't many people. And that's because we have found the sort of tropical oasis right bang in the middle of Hyde Park that not many people find. And how about that? Not only have you got lighting here, but a postbox right in the middle of Hyde Park. When was the last time you went to a park and you found there was a postbox there? Yeah, but we've got even more to bring you, including Hyde Park Police Station. So currently, the Metropolitan Police Service are responsible for policing the park and are based in here, what's colloquially known as the Old Police House, which is situated right bang in the centre of the park. The building was designed back in 1895, and between the years 1867 and 1993, Hyde Park was policed by the Metropolitan Police. Then the policing of the park was handed over to the Royal Parks Constabulary, which basically meant Hyde Park had its own police force running the park, which is quite incredible. Then, back in 2004, this changed back to the Metropolitan Police, following a review by the Royal Parks Constabulary by someone called Anthony Speed at the time. I must admit, as police stations go, I've seen lots shabbier ones than this. And what a venue, right in the centre of the park. So whilst you're taking in the wildness of the centre of Hyde Park, yes, we are bang in the centre of London again, you've got to keep reminding yourself. Let's give you some history of Hyde Park. Now the name comes from the Manor of Hyde, which was a sort of north-east subdivision of the Manor of Ella, and it appears as such in the Domesday Book way back when. Now the name is believed to be of Saxon origin, which means a unit of land, the Hyde. That was considered appropriate for the support of a single family independence. Now through the Middle Ages it was the property of Westminster Abbey, and the woods in the manor were used for both firewood and shelter for game. Now, with all the goings on of Henry VIII, the park was created for hunting by Henry VIII in 1536 after he acquired the Manor of Hyde from the Abbey. So it was enclosed then as a deer park and remained a private hunting ground until James I permitted limited access to gentlefolk, appointing a ranger to take charge. Charles I created the Ring, which is the area north of the present Serpentine boathouses, basically this area that we're in right now, and in 1637 he opened the park to the general public. It quickly became a popular gathering place, particularly for May Day celebrations, and at the start of the English Civil War in 1642 a series of fortifications were built along the east side of the park, including forts at what's now Marble Arch, Mount Street and Hyde Park Corner. Hyde Park Corner we're going to come to later on in this video. It's at Hyde Park Corner, which we featured in a previous video and we'll show you again, as I said, at the end of this video. It was at that particular point they had a strong point where visitors to London could be checked and vetted, which is quite interesting because the address at Hyde Park Corner is number 1, London. There are so many different monuments around Hyde Park that you're never far from one. We've already shown you the Norwegian War Memorial. This one here is right by Park Lane and underneath the gaze of the London Hilton Hotel. Hyde Park remained public until 1660, when Charles II retook ownership of Hyde Park following the restoration of the monarchy, and he enclosed it all in a brick wall. He restocked the deer in what is now Buck Hill in Kensington Gardens. Now the May Day parade continued to be a popular event here at Hyde Park, and Samuel Pepys took part in the park celebrations in 1663 while attempting to gain the King's favour. Now for those of you that love the more gory details of London, and let's face it, London's got plenty of those, Hyde Park was a popular duelling spot during the 18th century, with 172 taking place, causing 63 deaths, which must mean the others must have missed. Now the Hamilton-Mohun duel took place here in 1712, when Charles Mohun, the 4th Baron Mohun, fought James Hamilton, the 4th Duke of Hamilton. Mohun was killed instantly, and the Duke shortly died afterwards. Now another famous duel that happened here was the duel between Richard Brinsley Sheridan when he duelled with Captain Thomas Matthews over Matthews' libellous comments about Sheridan's fiancée, Elizabeth Ann Linley. He probably said something like he didn't like her dress or something like that, and that was it. A duel was then set forth. Now also in Hyde Park, military executions were commonplace at that time as well, and there's a point which is over near Speaker's Corner where we started, close to where the Tyburn Gallows were, was a section where it showed on a map where soldiers were shot. Also in the southern section here, you've got the Queen Mary Rose Garden, which is absolutely beautiful, and we've got a separate video that we've shot on that earlier this year when it was in full bloom, and I'm going to put a link to that up in the top right hand corner so you can catch it in all its beauty. So therefore we can cut out this bit so you're not looking at it earlier in the year when it's not been fully developed, but believe you me, it's worth checking out that video because it's gorgeous. Now, as we go down the path here, you're probably looking on the right hand side here and thinking, crikey, that's muddy. That's not mud, that's sand. And that is used by people that are riding their horses either through Hyde Park from their own personal stables, or alternatively used by the barracks horses, which get exercised down here one heck of a lot as well. And this is where they come over into Hyde Park. Now, on the other side of the park, right by Kensington Gardens, this is the same piece of sand that we saw earlier, or it's the same track, but it's just further back. So let me tell you about it, because this was built when William III moved his residence to Kensington Palace back in 1689. Now, this is on the other side of Hyde Park, and this was then known as the King's Private Road. Now, this track, which is still in existence, which goes all the way to Hyde Park Corner, is now known as Rotten Row. Possibly a corruption of Rotarian, to muster, or Ratton Row, roundabout way. Route to row or rotten, the soft material with which the road is covered. It is also believed to be the first road in London to be lit at night, and this was done to deter the highwaymen. And this because the road had become very, very famous with the wealthy for riding in the early 19th century, so they were seen as easy pickings. So here, we're in the bottom part of Hyde Park, and now this is a big entrance that's used, so people either come into Hyde Park in the main, either from Marble Arch at the very top by Marble Arch Tube Station, or here, right by Hyde Park Corner Tube Station. Now this is really impressive, I've just loved these arches, and then it leads on to the big roundabout, which is known as Hyde Park Corner, and we've got a video on that, and I'm going to put a link to that up in the top right hand corner for you, so you can see that. Now, just as a bonus, if you're coming down here and you're coming to Hyde Park, and you're coming to Hyde Park Corner, one of my favourite cafes in London is literally just behind it. We're going to swing around and have a look at that in just 1 second. It's a little place that you'll just walk past and not realise it's a cafe. Yes, it's in that building there with the columns. So if you've got time, do pop in there and go and have a coffee. By the way, this video is not sponsored, but I just love going there so much, and I spend far too much time having coffee in that one. There you go. If you want to find me in London, that's probably where you find me. Anyway, that's Hyde Park Corner, and that's the Wellington Memorial right over the road. And that video I put up in the top left-hand corner, top right-hand corner for you, that's the link to it there. So let us know in the comments down below. Have you been to London, and have you been to Hyde Park before? If so, what was your favourite bit? Do let us know in the comments down below. And have you been on the Serpentine Lake? It's absolutely amazing. Now, just one additional thing. If you want to support us, you can do. Just scan that QR code. That'll take us to buy us a coffee. And if you want to donate to keep supporting the channel, please do. I'll put a video link in the top right hand corner of Hyde Park Corner, and I'll see you in there.